Headlines of VTV News. Prime Minister pays working trip to Dien province. Efforts made to bring light to remote village in Dien province. And later on in our world news, Japan unveils 2024 diplomatic blue book.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello there and welcome to VTV News, coming live to you from Hanoi. You're with me, Lina Phap. Now, on the occasion of the 70th anniversary of the historic Điện Biên Phủ victory, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính on Tuesday offered incense to commemorate General Võ Nguyên Giáp and presented gifts to policy families in Mường Phăng Commune, where the Điện Biên Phủ campaign command was located.
At the General Võ Nguyên Giáp Memorial Area, situated in the headquarters of the Điện Biên Phủ campaign, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính led the delegation in offering incense and flowers to pay homage to General Võ Nguyên Giáp. Renowned as a legendary general, military strategist, and outstanding disciple of President Ho Chi Minh, General Võ Nguyên Giáp served as a commander-in-chief of the Vietnam Peaceful Army. His heroic, remarkable contributions to the party and the nation are widely recognized. General Võ Nguyên Giap's illustrious career is intertwined with the progression of the Vietnamese Revolution and the pivotal historic Điện Biên Phủ victory. The contributions and sacrifices made by General Võ Nguyên Giáp, along with the heroes and martyrs, will forever be recorded in the national history and deeply embedded in the hearts of the Vietnamese people. On the same day, the Prime Minister and the delegation visited and presented gifts to policy households in Mường Phăng Commune. 70 years ago, this location played a crucial role in safeguarding and supporting the headquarters of the Điện Biên Phủ campaign, contributing significantly to the glorious victory at Điện Biên Phủ. The Prime Minister expressed his delight at witnessing the positive transformations and robust development of Mường Phăng. He requested the party committee, authorities and residents to continue preserving and enhancing relics associated with the Điện Biên Phủ victory. Additionally, he encouraged the locality to promote its historical and cultural heritage, to boost tourism and advance socio-economic development, thereby improving the living standards of the people. Also on this occasion, the Prime Minister gifted about $4,000 to fund educational initiatives and talent acquisition activities in Mường Phăng Commune.
Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính received Apple CEO Tim Cook on Tuesday. The Vietnamese leader expressed appreciation and gratitude towards Apple for expanding production and business in Vietnam, thereby creating more than 200,000 jobs for the people. The Prime Minister discussed Vietnam's significant achievements during nearly 40 years of đổi mới or innovation. He addressed fundamental factors, the country's core development path, foreign policies, economy, national defense, and culture. He emphasized that these are comprehensive guidelines and policies that Vietnam has consistently implemented in a stable, long-term, effective and sustainable manner under the leadership of the Communist Party of Vietnam, headed by General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng. In the future, to enhance the Vietnam-U.S. comprehensive strategic partnership and foster good political relations, the Prime Minister has requested Apple's continued support. This includes helping Vietnam improve its institutions, promoting green development and production, and advancing renewable energy sources like wind power. He stated that the government will establish a working group to support Apple's increasingly effective development in Vietnam. During the meeting, Apple CEO Tim Cook shared that he was enjoying a productive work visit to Vietnam. He appreciated the warm welcome from locals and was impressed by Vietnam's innovative community. He also expressed appreciation for the Prime Minister's insights on Vietnam's development orientations and goals, and conveyed his desire to enhance high-quality cooperation and investment activities in Vietnam. Apple wishes to further promote its investment in Vietnam, especially in developing high-tech products and applications to engage in the tech giant's App Store, bringing its products to more consumers locally and globally. Apple CEO Tim Cook confirmed this during his visit to the country. Our reporter had an exclusive interview with the CEO on the opportunity for Apple to expand its investment in Vietnam. More to follow.
So you have the 2-day visit in Vietnam and have an important meeting with Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính. What are the outcomes of the visit, and will you have a long-term strategy in Vietnam?
Yes, I've connected to the creative community, the developer community, the manufacturing community. I connected with the Prime Minister, and I'm leaving with a sense of great excitement, great enthusiasm. He focused a lot on people and the planet, and these are two things that mean a lot to us, that we hold dear. And so I saw a significant amount of alignment.
United States-Vietnam relation has been upgraded to a comprehensive strategic partnership to push trade and cooperation in critical industry. As a U.S. tech giant, how does Apple see this chance here?
Yeah, since 2019, there's been a massive acceleration in our supply chain in Vietnam, and that's despite COVID happening. We've spent $400 trillion since 2019. We've created about over 200,000 jobs between manufacturing and developers. I think there's a huge opportunity here. I see many people, the prosperity building in the country. That's always a good sign.
Again, thank you very much for the time.
Now, continuing its 32nd session, the National Assembly Standing Committee discussed the draft law amending and supplementing several articles of the pharmacy law on Tuesday. A number of issues were raised to foster the development of the pharmaceutical industry.
Deputies stressed the importance of developing the pharmaceutical industry for both public health and economic growth, given the country's sizable market of 100 million people. They emphasized the need for preferential policies for the sector.
The current pharmaceutical industry in Vietnam can only meet the demand for common drugs. The country has to import rare and specialized drugs. In this draft law, specific policies should be regulated to incentivize investment and attract investors.
It's now regulated that the Ministry of Health is responsible for coordinating the development of medicinal material areas with other relevant ministries and agencies. While the Ministry of Health oversees pharmaceutical and drug management, the Ministry of Agriculture should be responsible for medicinal preparation and management.
The medicine business through e-commerce garnered significant attention.
Medicines are special goods related to health. Therefore, selling drugs, whether through general means or via e-commerce, must be tightly controlled. Regulations are needed to determine the legal entity responsible in case of incidents, and where drugs will be delivered from an online retail pharmacy to the buyer.
Earlier, the Standing Committee discussed a report outlining voters' opinions on several matters. The committee requested agencies to proactively resolve the slow progress of projects and the misuse of land leading to complaints. It also asked the government to closely monitor the market supply, demand, and prices of important and essential goods and inspect gold trading enterprises to promptly handle market manipulation.
Vietnam always values and wishes to strengthen multifaceted cooperation with Hungary, a traditional partner and the only comprehensive partner of Vietnam in the Central Eastern European region. This affirmation was made by National Assembly Chairman Vương Đình Huệ on April the 16th when receiving first officer of the Hungarian National Assembly Marta Matrai in Hanoi. Speaking at the reception, The National Assembly chairman appreciated the 5th Legislative Conference on the role of the Parliament in supreme supervision of bilateral cooperation agreements between Vietnam and Hungary, held earlier the same day in Hanoi. For her part, noting that Hungary will take on the role of rotating president of the European Council in the second half of 2024, First Officer of the Hungarian National Assembly, Mata Matrai, affirmed Hungary will help hasten other EU member countries to ratify the EU-Vietnam Investment Protection Agreement, or EVIPA, and urged the European Commission to soon remove the yellow card imposed on Vietnam regarding illegal, unreported and unregulated or IUU fishing and other problems in the EU-Vietnam trade ties. On the same day, Deputy Prime Minister Lee Min-khai received a Tony Blair, former British Prime Minister, Executive Chairman of the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change. The Deputy Prime Minister hopes that the Institute will continue to support and advise Vietnam in building a financial center in accordance with international practices, as well as attracting investment in new fields such as information, technology, infrastructure, telecommunications, chip design, AI applications. For his part, Tony Blair shared some ideas on attracting investment and finance, developing the semiconductor industry, as well as applying the artificial intelligence. Deputy Prime Minister Trần Lưu Quang held talks with Cuban Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Trade and Investment Ricardo Cabrizas on April the 15th local time as part of his visit to the Latin American country. The Vietnamese official affirmed that the Vietnamese government is determined to implement projects supporting Cuba in strengthening agricultural production. Deputy Prime Minister Trần Lưu Quang suggested the Cuban government provide support and create favorable conditions for Vietnamese enterprises to invest in the Latin American nation. For his part, Cabrizas thanked Vietnam for helping maintain a stable commercial rice supply and assisting Cuba in developing food and seafood production, affirming that cooperation with Vietnam is of strategic importance in the current context. Vietnam will need tens of thousands of workers for the semiconductor industry in the next 5 years. The demand for human resources in this sector is steadily rising as the country defines semiconductor products as one of 9 national products.
Foreign investors praise Vietnam's designation of semiconductor products as one of 9 national products. Many foreign corporations are willing to collaborate with Vietnam to advance this industry, thereby supporting Vietnam's integration into the global semiconductor supply chain.
Human resources is the most crucial part that contributes to the success of the semiconductor industry. Vietnam's goal to train 50,000 semiconductor engineers in the next 5 years, and its investment will help Vietnam soon integrate into the global semiconductor supply chain.
In the next 5 years, Vietnam needs about 50,000 engineers for the semiconductor industry. The cost to train this workforce is estimated at about $1 billion. However, the value they create will be much higher.
Along with 50,000 semiconductor engineers, over 204,000 indirect jobs will be created. The workforce will bring a value of up to 15 to 16 billion USD for Vietnam.
35 higher education institutions in Vietnam are capable of engaging in semiconductor training. However, the number of experienced training facilities remains modest. Hence, it is imperative for localities to establish specialized centers for semiconductor training. This will help elevate Vietnam's standing in the global supply chain and attract major technology corporations to consider relocating their research, development, and production activities to Vietnam.
Coming up next, Cà Mau declares state of emergency over drought. And efforts made to bring light to remote village in Dien province. You're watching VTV News. Vietnam's southernmost province, Cà Mau, has announced an emergency drought situation in Trần Văn Thời and U Minh districts to immediately deploy response measures. Particularly, Trần Văn Thời district has experienced more than 600 points of erosions and land subsidence that measured nearly 16 kilometers. Meanwhile, U Minh district faces water shortages. It is forecasted that a number of localities along with the two districts will suffer from water shortages, erosion, and land subsidence. Therefore, people are advised to follow their production schedule, while warning signs will be installed on routes with risks of land subsidence. Severe water shortages caused by a heat wave and saltwater intrusion in southern provinces have adversely impacted local farmers' agricultural production. Stress caused by saltwater intrusion has weakened trees and crops, causing significant losses for farmers. This is our report from Bình Lợi Commune, Bình Chánh District, Ho Chi Minh City.
This farmer has cultivated 3 hectares of yellow apricot trees. Severe water shortages caused by prolonged heat waves and saltwater intrusion have slowed the growth of the trees, causing leaves to wilt and die.
Saltwater intrusion has been occurring on a large scale for more than 2 months, devastating my yellow apricot trees. Water shortages have caused the tree branches to dry out. Most of the trees have been dying.
Prolonged heat waves and saltwater intrusion have turned the lives of local farmers upside down as their agricultural activities are adversely impacted.
We recommend that local farmers use automated irrigation systems or drip irrigation to reduce water waste.
To minimize damage caused by saltwater intrusion, local authorities in Ho Chi Minh City have implemented many solutions. These include accelerating the construction of water supply systems, improving irrigation system maintenance, using efficient watering models, and converting crop structures.
If drought and saltwater intrusion intensify, we will store fresh water and divert water from the Saigon River into the An Ha River.
Severe drought and saltwater intrusion are forecast to prolong until the end of April. Local farmers are advised to store water for irrigation and apply efficient watering systems to better adapt to the dry season.
Vietnam handed over remains of American soldiers missing in action during the war in Vietnam to the U.S. in a ceremony held at Da Nang International Airport on Tuesday. At the ceremony, 2 sets of remains returned to the U.S. side, this time as the result of a joint search between Vietnamese and U.S. agencies from February to April 2024. The search for the missing remains of U.S. soldiers from the war in Vietnam has been ongoing humanitarian activity jointly conducted by the Vietnamese and U.S. government since the late 1980s. The remains of over 720 U.S. soldiers have been identified and repatriated. In Dien province, approximately 2% of residents still lack access to the national electric grid, particularly affecting over 1,200 households nestled in the highland and remote, sparsely populated regions of Dien Bien Dong district. Through a myriad of resource mobilization strategies and nationwide support of Dien Bien Dong has emerged as a leading locality in extending national grid connectivity to its citizens. More to follow.
When visiting Tao La village nowadays, it's evident that many Hmong families are experiencing positive transformations.
With electricity now available, life has become much easier. When there was no electricity, I had to operate the dynamo. My wife and children at home couldn't operate it.
Due to the absence of electricity access in the past, residents in Tao La relied on buying their own batteries or solar panels. With no electricity or phone signal, Tao La consistently stood out as one of the most challenging villages of Dien Bien province.
I feel happy when I visit a resident's house and see a light bulb shining. Since the villages have been connected to the national grid, during our meetings at the cultural house, we no longer need to use flashlights to take minutes as we did before.
Recognizing the magnitude of facilitating access to electricity grid, the district has undertaken substantial resource mobilization efforts for investment. Since last year, Ho Chi Minh City allocated a support package worth $1.9 million to eliminate no electricity areas.
Bringing electricity to these difficult areas not only enhances quality of life but also facilitate business and production activities, thereby strengthening local social security and economic development.
70 years after the historic Dien victory, the light of national electricity grid now reaches every remote village. Thanks to the unwavering determination of the locality and the wholehearted support of the nation, the people of Dien are enjoying better living standards.
The International Trauma Life Support Training Center under the Ministry of National Defense Military Hospital 175 officially made its debut in Hanoi. This is the first of its kind in Vietnam and the fifth established in Southeast Asia. The center will help improve Vietnam's professional training capacity for military medical forces and open up training opportunities for forces of regional countries participating in United Nations peacekeeping operations. In the coming time, Military Hospital 175 will support Military Hospital 103 to become the second International Trauma Life Training Center in Vietnam. The Chol Chnam Thmay Festival holds significant cultural importance, particularly among the Khmer community in the southern region. Amid the traditional New Year ambience, visiting villages or Theravada Buddhist temples allows one to experience the lively and jubilant atmosphere firsthand.
At the Sanwar Pothinam Pagoda Yard on the second day of the Chol Chnam Thmay Festival, most Khmer families in the area come to the pagoda to participate in folk games despite the hot midday sun. This year, everyone is excited because people's lives have improved significantly compared to before.
I went to the pagoda to play tug of war and pot smashing. This year is even more enjoyable than previous years.
Thanks to the party and state support, ethnic boarding schools, solidarity houses, and incentives for ethnic groups have flourished. As a result, people now enjoy prosperity and spacious living conditions.
Tug of war, blindfolded pot smashing, and sack jumping are beloved folk games among the Khmer people. These activities not only bring joy during their traditional New Year celebrations, but also serve as practical means to foster community exchange and learning and enhance the spirit of solidarity and unity.
For Khmer people, activities revolve around the pagodas during the New Year. They begin by offering rice in the morning, gather for communal activities and singing at noon, and conclude the day with monks chanting sutras and praying for peace and prosperity in the new year.
In addition to games, people engage in constructing earthen mounds to pray for peace and droughts and honor the deceased during the Chol Chnam Thmay Festival. This event not only symbolizes the Khmer belief in the yearly cycle, but also serve as a platform to instill values of filial piety, solidarity, and strengthening community bonds and love for one another.
Coming up next in our world news, Japan unveils 2024 Diplomatic Blue Book. And U.S. and Iraq agree on talks for withdrawal of U.S.-led coalition. Japan recently unveiled the 2024 Diplomatic Blue Book, presenting its views and assessments on changes in the regional and global landscape as well as foreign relations over the past year. For the first time in 5 years, Japan reaffirms its commitment to fostering mutually beneficial strategic bilateral relations with China. Regarding South Korea, Japan acknowledges shifts in Japan-Korea relations over the past year and stressed the necessity of bilateral cooperation. Japan also calls for the complete dismantling of North Korea's missile and nuclear programs, aiming for a summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. In the face of regional conflict risks, Japan identifies the emerging role of Southern Hemisphere countries and pledges to collaborate with like-minded nations for a stable and secure security environment and prosperity. The Japan-US alliance will remain central in achieving these objectives. During a meeting on Monday in Washington, D.C., U.S. President Joe Biden and Iraqi Prime Minister Shia Sudani agreed to consider the withdrawal of the U.S.-led military alliance from Iraq. The coalition was established in 2014 with the aim of defeating the self-proclaimed Islamic State, or IS, which at the time occupied nearly 30% of Iraq's territory and many areas of Syria. In a statement following the meeting, the two leaders acknowledged the need to carefully assess various factors before concluding the mission of the military coalition against Islamic extremists in Iraq. The goal of both the U.S. and Iraq is to negotiate a bilateral agreement that would permit the U.S. troops to remain in Iraq. Currently, about 2,500 U.S. troops are deployed in the Middle Eastern country. China's National Bureau of Statistics announced on Tuesday that the country experienced 5.3% growth in its first quarter GDP. Numerous key indicators surpassed expectations, leading many experts to believe that China's economy will rebound more strongly in the second quarter. Compared to the same period last year, total retail sales of consumer goods increased by 4.7%, while the total value added of industrial enterprises grew by 6.1% year-on-year in the first quarter. Additionally, the country's export turnover exceeded $796 billion in the initial 3 months. Despite significant improvements in main indicators, many experts caution that the world's second-largest economy still faces pressure stemming from inadequate domestic demand and a weak real estate sector. These experts anticipate that China will further strengthen fiscal spending on production and social security to restore consumer confidence. And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. And that's it for this edition of VTV News. Thank you very much for watching. To rewatch our program, you can download VTVgo from App Store or Google Play, or tune in our YouTube channel at youtube.com/VTV4go. See you again at 3 p.m. local time. Goodbye for now.